Welcome back. So in 1984, I upstick again and moved from the lovely Ipswich in Suffolk to Basingstoke in Hampshire to work for the Automobile Association. Now, this is one of the occasions when, like I said previously, I think it takes 6 months to actually understand your job and to get into it and to settle down, because my immediate feeling when I went to the AA in Basingstoke was, oh my God, what have I done? I want to go back to Ipswich. I couldn't. Well, I probably could have done from a job point of view, but for other reasons I couldn't. So I had to make the best of it, really. And you know, this is still the time before mobile phones, and the job that I had at the AA again was in a support role, but it was a database management support role, specifically database management, to keep, I think at the time the AA had 6 systems, which was their command and control system, you know, the vans that are out on the road. Then they had obviously payroll for people. They had a number of insurance systems, because that AA makes, or did at the time, not sure now, the AA at the time made most of their money from insurance. So they had home insurance, they had car insurance, and those insurance systems, they come with some legal obligations. So if someone takes out insurance with you, you have to provide them with documents within a given period. So obviously at this time it was important that those systems were kept running. Now the problem at the time, this was 1984, the problem at the time was that they had already had 2 database support analysts, and for some reason that I never found out, they both left at the same time. And they left at the same time, but not only that, he didn't leave any documentation at all. So it was basically going into those systems completely blind. Now at the time there was just me, but that wasn't really a practical situation. So we did recruit a contractor to work with me, and between us we did a week on of support and a week off. Now we were running ICL 2900 still at that point, hierarchical databases that I've already described, and we were trying to support all of these databases that ran mostly overnight, actually, and it seemed like all the problems that occurred overnight. Typical, isn't it? So I would get a call at home. I lived about 4 miles away, so had to drive in to Fainham House in Basingstoke. I'd get there, and then sometimes they'd say, you know what, it's fixed, you don't need to come in. So I said, right, okay, I'll go home then. I get home and they'd already phoned to say, no, it wasn't fixed, I had to go back again. So backwards and forwards, and I could guarantee for that first probably year that I was with the AA that I was getting called out. When the weeks I was on call, I was getting called out maybe 3-4 times a night to do various, you know, I described fixing ICL hierarchical databases, to do those fixes, replace journalizing systems, journalizing disks, and you know, that was great, but when you're getting called out 3 or 4 times a night for a week, it gets pretty tiring. And that first year, I probably earned my salary again in call-out payments, which is great, but you get very tired very quickly and you don't want to go through that process again. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we did that for another year. I was at the AA for 2 years again. And then towards the end, or towards the middle of the second year that I was there, the AA decided to replace their command and control system. And they called in another consultancy. I won't say which one, it's not really relevant. In fact, I don't think they exist today. To build a command and control system for them. And I said at the time, well, if you're going to build a command and control system, then I want to validate the design, because I don't want us getting back into a position where we're getting called out. By this time, the call outs had really dropped off, and it was like we get called out very rarely, because we'd actually fixed what the problems were. And the short answer was no. It's been tendered. We've selected the supplier. You can't have any input. But they did say that they would let me look at the designs. Now, when I looked at the designs, it was obvious that the third party were experienced in IBM systems, but they weren't really experienced in ICL systems. So what they'd actually proposed, in my view, wouldn't work. Now, fate intervenes again. It's quite interesting, because I really wasn't happy with supporting that system, but at the same time, the computer manager decided to move on, and my boss at the time was fortunate enough, and I think he's actually still there, so I won't mention his name, but I think he's still at the AA, although maybe retired now, I don't know. He managed to get her job, and he deserved it. He really, really deserved it. He was a great guy. Paul, I won't say was his surname, but Paul. And he wanted me then to take his job, which would have meant me moving into a managerial position. Now, I thought long and hard about this for quite some time, and I decided at that time I didn't want to do management. I was more interested, and still am, I don't regret the decision at all. I was more interested in the technical side of work, of computing, and IT. So he said to me, well, if you won't take it, I'll have to give it to another guy that we were working with at the same time, that I didn't think particularly was suitable for the job, and I didn't think that I could work for him. So I made the sort of decision based on two factors: that sort of position with management, and also not being able to have an influence on the new system that was coming in. I made the difficult decision to move again, and so at that time I then moved to become a CSC consultant. So when I was working for CSC, I left Basingstoke and I moved to work in Telford. Now, I didn't live in Telford. I actually lived north of Shrewsbury. But that's another story. 2 years of consultancy with CSC, and I've got some interesting stories to tell about that particular time. So that'll be another video. Hopefully, see you then.